Hello neighbors, it's Brad here from eTrailer, and today we are taking a look at the eTrailer high-low adapter. Now this one's going to be an adjustable high-low adapter, which is going to be great because you can get up to a 6-inch rise or a 6-inch drop with your 2-inch receiver tube opening. So a great option for maybe an RV or a towed vehicle that is quite a bit different than one or the other. You can adjust accordingly and get your tow bar set up perfectly. Now, a lot of times I'll be going down the road and I always pay attention to flat tow setups, and I've seen so many of them that look like this. And if yours looks like this, it's not correct. Or if it's pitched upward, it's also not correct. When it comes to flat towing, you want your tow bar or at least the hitch on your RV and your base plate to be within 3 inches of each other so your tow bar levels out. And a lot of times people just put it in there and say, well, it's hooked up, it'll tow. But as you start to apply the brakes, even though you have a braking system, there is going to be pressure that's put on the tow bar at a downward angle. And even as you pull, it's putting a lot of pressure on the receiver tube opening. So getting it nice and level is much like towing a trailer. You want it as level as possible, but that's just going to keep all of the tension and the arms nice and protected long term. It's not going to put any extra stress on anything. So the best way to determine if you need a high-low adapter is going to be measuring the hitch on your RV from the ground to the middle of your pin. So for instance, on ours today, we're coming in about 20.5 inches. On our base plate, we're coming in at 15. So with that spread, we need to cover about 5 inches to get it nice and level. And the rule of thumb is always within 3 inches. So if you have a variance of more than 3 inches, that's when the high-low adapter comes into play. And while there's fixed ones out there, those are nice if you know that you're going to keep this setup for a long time. But more times than not, when I talk to people that flat tow, they either have multiple vehicles or they change them every few years. So if you're one of those people that do change coaches or flat towed vehicles, or maybe you have a flat tow vehicle and no coach, or vice versa, and you're not sure of what the heights are going to be, your best bet is to get an adjustable high-low adapter, and you should be able to cover the spread. Now, as far as measuring for a base plate, even though if you don't have one installed, a lot of times in our videos we try to get those measurements. You can also go to the manufacturer, assuming that your vehicle is stock height, and get those to get that comparison. But that high-low adapter is going to be crucial. And I'll mention something later that as you add a high-low adapter, there may be a few other things that you might want to pick up as well. So I'll get our high-low adapter in place and show you the difference that it makes. Now, before I get it in place, I am going to take a measurement from the receiver collar. We're just going to go to the front bumper on our Jeep, and it's right at 49 inches. So that's something to take in consideration, because as we add that on, that's where those extra components come into play. So sometimes you'll need longer safety chains. Normally your umbilical, if it's a coiled style, should be fine, but we have some extensions if you ever need those, and I'll show you exactly why. So as we load this up, something I'll point out is it does come with a pin and clip. Now, that being said, that's to pin this into the receiver. You're still going to need to retain your 5/8 pin and clip from your tow bar to adapt to the receiver. So first thing, I'll get this pinned up. And the pin and clip is nice. It's going to be that brushed nickel or black nickel finish here on our pin and clip, which is a nice little addition there. It's just really good looking there. And standard 5/8 pin and clip here. And the shank from the pin to total length is 11 inches. So as I mentioned, I measured from this receiver to the front of the Jeep. That's because this is pushing it back. So as I mentioned, if your safety chains are a little bit short, that's where it's really going to bind because of this added length. So again, something to keep in mind. Now I have it in our drop configuration because we know that this one's higher. So as far as getting this dialed in, the great part is to adjust this is simple. We just pull out our clips here, and then we can pull out our pins and then adjust this up or down. So total of max rise is going to be 6 inches, and then drop will be 6 inches. So a huge spread. Again, that's going to cover a good majority of vehicles. What I'm going to do is measure from the ground to the top of our receiver tube open on here and see if I can't get that 15 inches that our base plate is at. Now, right now in this configuration, I have our gusset on the bottom, and this is putting us at 18 inches. So not exactly what we're looking for. we need to go lower, not a problem. We'll just take these out. We'll flip this over and then try this. So measuring to the center of our hitch pin hole here, bingo, we got it. So at this point, we'll get our tow bar in place, hook it back up to our Jeep and see what it looks like. Now, something that I noticed while loading it into our high-low adapter, our Blue Ox Avail, as well as a lot of other tow bars, give you 2 different pinholes. So you can either bring it close or extend it out, which more times than not, the longer extended it is, it's actually going to track a little bit better behind the vehicle. But the reason it's limited is our receiver tube stops here. So I don't think it's going to hinder any tow bar from working. You're just not going to be able to use the further in hole. So as you can tell immediately, there is a lot more space. Let's see, as far as measurement, how much of a difference there is. So initially we had 49. We are now at 65 inches. So a decent amount of length added. You know, imagine having that 11 inches total. So that's where, again, I mentioned those safety cables. If you're worried about that, you don't necessarily need to buy new safety cables. If you have coiled ones, they're probably going to be okay. You can get safety chain extensions that will just add a short length. We have those available here at eTrailer. And that's something that many times when we sit up flat tows and we put a high-low adapter in, generally we're going to have to add those extensions and also an extra pin and clip if you don't have that, but it is nice that this one comes with it. So again, it does extend it quite a bit, but the biggest thing is look how level it is, and this is what we're looking for. So able to get this down all the way to where this is nice and level, and again, if I ever needed to adjust it, I absolutely could. So this is what we're looking for, but there's still a few other features that I want to cover on the high-low adapter, so let's take a look at that. Now the length on this is 11 inches, and that's not total length. That is measuring from our receiver tube pin to our adjustable holes here. So right from there to there is right at 11, but overall length is actually a little bit longer. So if you're worried about having to store this overall, I'll get you a nice measurement here. So from the top to the end, it's right at about 17 inches. So it's fairly big, but the only additional length onto your tow bar is really going to be 11 inches total. So just something to keep in mind. Now I've covered a few specs as far as rise and drop, being 6 inches rise, 6 inches drop. So covering a nice spread of pretty much any measurement. But things that you do need to take in consideration, this is for a 2-inch receiver. A lot of RVs will have 2-inch ones. Some of your bigger ones will be larger. You could get a reducer, but you do want to make sure that you are indeed getting you know, this for your 2-inch receiver. Also, I mentioned it's 11 inches in length. The main thing though is it's 10,000 pounds for your gross trailer weight. And that's really impressive considering I would say almost all vehicles that are flat towable that I've seen through here are under 10,000 pounds. Even your 3/4 ton trucks that are loaded up aren't really hitting the scales at 10,000. So really important because with 10,000 pounds, again, this is kind of a buy once, cry once. No matter the vehicle that you get, this should account for it, which is really nice. Now, with that being said, just because this is 10,000 pounds, you also want to make sure that your tow bar is rated for that as well. So double check that. Just make sure that you're staying safe across the board and not going over any of the capacities. Now, a nice feature that's added into this is going to be this anti-rattle bolt. And while the 2-inch hitch in the receiver may rattle around, you can always get a anti-rattle device for that. This is built in for our adjustment. Because this allows for adjustment, that means there has to be tolerances for it to move. Well, sometimes your adjustable ones will have this going down the road and every bump you hit will be making that noise. And that's not the case here because you can tighten this out. Once you have this in the spot that you want, you'll just grab a 3/4 inch socket, snug this down, and that's going to take that rattle away. So I'll tighten this and give it a few jostles, and we'll see pretty quickly, once tightened, the only thing rattling is now our solid shank in our receiver. So A little added benefit there, if you get an anti-rattle collar or any kind of anti-rattle device, that's going to eliminate a lot of the noise coming from the back of your RV and just kind of give you peace of mind that everything's looking good back there. Now, overall, I've dealt with a lot of high-low adapters, and some of them can get extremely pricey. Anytime you really tack on flat towing to something or flat tow rated, generally that comes with a price tag. And this one is really not gonna, break the bank at all. And honestly, quality-wise, it's really, really nice. The matte black powder coat finish is very similar to what's on the eTrailer hitches. I get to deal with those very regularly, and they hold up to chips and scratches long term. A lot of your gloss finishes will tend to flake off. This really does hold up well. I love the black nickel, looks really sharp overall. The included pin and clip is nice. It is a solid shank, so that's probably why it can be rated at 10,000 pounds. So this thing, I would guess about 35 pounds, maybe a little bit more. It's not light, but for something that's rated as high as it is, that's kind of to be expected. But the fact that you have gussets here on the high-low adapter as well as on our receiver means that it's going to hold up long term. You have a nice collar on the receiver opening. The pins look really nice. Just overall, a really, really great option. Now, I did mention flat tow things being a little bit more pricey generally with that name attached. That's something to keep in mind. This is only for flat towing. You're not going to want to pull a trailer with this. That's not what it's designed for. So just keep that in mind. The main goal is to keep you safe out there on the road. And that was a look at the eTrailer adjustable high-low adapter with 6-inch rise and a 6-inch drop. Now, if you have any other additional questions about what you may need for your flat tow setup, or if this is going to be a great option for you, feel free to reach out to our customer service. We have plenty of experts waiting to help you. Hopefully this video will help decide if this is going to be the high-low adapter that you want to go with for your flat tow setup. Thanks for joining us.